gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? I want to introduce the brilliant young artist Anthony Hancock, who, as you know, has just completed a sculpture of my beautiful wife, Margot. I shall now ask the artist himself to reveal his work.
Oh, blimey.
How dare you? Is this some joke?
Did you like it?
Is this supposed to be my wife?
Well, yes, it's your wife as I see her.
Hello, welcome back to Bebop Review. My name is Andy Shaw. I just wanted to show you that short clip from the Tony Hancock film The Rebel to illustrate the negative reaction that Bebop had upon its first hearing by the general public and music critics. The music at that time had burst into an unexpected world on the back of a 2-year recording ban instigated by the American Federation of Musicians, or AMF. The most vocal critics were the New Orleans revivalist camp and some swing critics who stated that bebop was not jazz. In his 1949 interview for Downbeat and 1947 interview for Metronome, Charlie Parker tried to distance himself and bebop from the mainstream jazz line by claiming that bebop was not jazz and so hopefully silenced the critics. I don't think Parker really believed what he was saying. He just had enough which surely we can all understand. So let's not call it jazz, let's call it music. Parker also states in a 1949 interview that he was not influenced by any of the great players of the swing era. The interviewers state that his first influence was Rudy Vallee, but this is almost certainly a misquote. It should have read Rudy Wardorf, whom it is well known was Parker's first influence on saxophone. The headline in Downbeat screams, "Lester didn't influence me." However, this is also untrue because you can hear Lester Young's influence on Parker in his early Jay McShann recordings. Particularly on Lady Be Good. Parker may have insisted on no influence in jazz because of an interview with Lester Young in Downbeat on May 6, 1949. In the article entitled "Press Talks About Himself and Copycats," Young blasted the musicians of the day as being non-individuals. "The trouble with most musicians today is that they are copycats," he said. Parker didn't want to appear as a copycat, so this is why he may have said he wasn't influenced by anyone, but we know he was, especially in his early years. However, in my opinion, the biggest influence on Parker in the early 1940s was not Young, but guitarist Charlie Christian, whom Parker heard regularly at Monroe's. In his book, Charlie Parker, His Life and Legacy, Carl Wardeck shows how Parker quotes many players of the swing era. But quotes are not stylistic changes. In his early recordings, his stylistic model may have been Young, but his later style incorporated Christian, in my opinion. Charlie Christian may have died in 1942, but his legacy lived on in Charlie Parker. To understand the Levin-Wilson breakthrough statement, we need first to look at part of a later Parker mature solo when his style was fully established. I have chosen the opening of Parker's Klun Stance purely at random. Okay, so I'm looking at Klun Stance, Charlie Parker solo. It's in the Charlie Parker Omnibook, this on page 89. If you want to go through this yourself and analyse it and then see what I get, as an exercise. You can do. That's if you're one of my subscribers. You should be able to analyse something like this now. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this 3 ways. I'm going to go through it like I usually do and show you what Parker's using. Then we're going to look at the voice leading, which is obviously part of this line, and then we're going to look at some of the interesting different notes as well. Okay. First of all, Parker starts his solo off. Well, it's not. This is the tune, but there's no theme to this tune. Parker just bursts straight into a solo. He starts off with a D major tetrachord rise, and as you can see, and then we'll go through a pair of normal changing tones. Normal changing tones, remember, are you start off at the note that you're going to finish on, which is that G. So here, the last note in this tetrachord is setting up a changing tone, right? Which you start at G. We go through these 2 changing tones here, then we're finishing on this G. Now this G is the 4th note of D major, or the 11th if you're talking about tensions, and the 11th is an avoid note. But Parker then, we'll just carry on. Parker then goes into M2, right? So he's elaborating it with that A. So A is part of D. So we're on a 4th beat of the bar, 1, 2, 3, 4, which is a weak beat, and then he's elaborating that A. So this avoid note it's nothing really, because it's on a weak beat anyway, and it's been elaborated by M2, which is actually putting in this A, which is part of D. So it's all right that. So let's see what he does next. Parker then goes into M3BA. This is just elaborating this F. It's basically, that's just F for 2 beats. But Parker's put this in, which is an elaboration on the F. So we've got voice leading. Look, we're going from this A to G to F. Right, so then see what else he does. Then we're going into M1. So if we're on this F, he's gone up by arpeggio, and he's taking us up to that C. Okay, so let's carry on. That C takes us to, so this takes us to our familiar M5B, which is about voice leading. So the voice leading, which was coming down to this F sharp, has now risen up to that C, and it's going through this changing tone, right, which is taking us to that B. So the voice leading going from C to B. So let's carry on. This is something you've got to watch out for. This is M4E. M4E is 5 chromatic notes in a line: B, B flat, A flat, G. Right, it's a tricky one. This, so you've got to really look at the notes to see. M4E can then go into a scale thing or an arpeggio, or also it's going into a scaly type thing. So let's just carry on. Right, Parker then goes into a D major tetrachord, right? D major tetrachord, which works that way on D major, but descending will work on A7. So I think this is anticipation of A7, but it also works, if you go back one more, on the E minor. So this is, which is really a dominant type. A descending D major tetrachord is normally associated with dominant chords, so the A7, which is a perfect 5th back. But if you go perfect 5th back again and change it to minor, it works on a minor chord as well. Look, so you've got E and G, which work on the minor chord. So quite clever little playing by Charlie Parker. He's actually putting a tetrachord that works on both the E minor and the A7 chord, which we're going to. So if he kind of plays out like a B to 2 art, it's still going to work that bit. It's a good linking thing. We've got a chromatic line then moving down to this C sharp, which sets up, if I just carry on, C sharp diminished 7. Now in the key of D, which we're in here, C sharp, the 7th chord, C sharp, would be C sharp half, what the Americans call a half diminished, and what we British call a C sharp minor 7 flat 5, which is much more descriptive if you ask me. But here we've got a C sharp diminished, so the note that's different from the half diminished is that B flat, which is the flat 9 on A7, and that's one of the notes I want to be talking about. Notice that note is actually off the B, and we've got half. It's using it as a half step leading down to this A here. So let's carry on. Here we've got an E minor tetrachord, which actually works very well on this A7, although E minor tetrachord would probably work better on B minor or B7, because you've got the F sharp and the A, which is in both B minor 7 and B7. So, but he's using it as that's a 6, which is the 13th tension on that A7. So it works all right. Very clever. Okay, so here we've got a strange thing. It's not a chromatic line, look, because between that B and C sharp is a full tone. So, and between that B flat and D, we've got a major third. So that's a strange line going down. But actually, some of you will probably recognise that as part of a bebop scale, and this B flat should actually be an A sharp on that D, and this is actually registering as D major bebop scale. I'll talk about this later on, okay, but I'll just put that little question mark in to say that that was something that was not normally played at that time, okay? Parker then plays a E minor tetrachord, right? Again, very nice layer, which would normally fit on B7. So if you look at it, it's working very nicely on this D, and the relative minor of D would be B minor 7, which you would normally see that on the B minor chord, the E. The descending E minor tetrachord, but it will also work on B7. So again, this is a good linking tetrachord between the D and the B7. Okay, so we'll just carry on. Okay, so Charlie Parker here is playing E flat diminished 7, which would normally go to E. So that's all right, because if you're looking at E, where we're going to, this is like the 7th, this would be the 7th chord. Again, we've got this one note extra here, this C, which doesn't fit with that B7. It'd be a flat 9 again. So that's another note to look at, why he's using that. And then you can see that this is going into M5B. He's basically doing what he did for earlier on. So we've got M5B, again, voice leading. C to B to A to that G there, you see. Just carry on. Right, just here we've got an ornamental changing tone approached by leap. You can see this is the leap here, it's leaping from that B, we're repeating, changing tone goes up, it's like a classical type, but then it repeats, and then we're finishing on G. So those notes are all leading to G, okay? Let's carry on. We've got voice leading again here. Got the voice leading's moved to G, and arpeggio, which is called M1, is taking us up. So now the voice leading's gone up to that S sharp. Let's carry on. Okay, so this arpeggio here is A6, right? So this is really on this A7 chord. It's not really, if you look at it, we've got a F sharp and a C sharp on beat, which is not really going with that E minor. So this is really played in anticipation of that A7. He's elaborating this, he's extending this line, he's carrying it on through this A7. And if you look, we've got this pair here, A to C sharp, A to C sharp repeating, which is kind of spelling out a changing tone leading to that B. And then this all arpeggiator thing is basically elaboration. See, here he's playing A 6 arpeggio, but here it's not quite A6, is it? You've got A, C sharp, you've got the E, but we're playing F natural, so this is again a strange note. Now I think that's wrong, that note. It shouldn't be F natural, it should be E sharp to emphasise a sharpened fifth, and this is another note that I'll be talking about in this video. Let's carry on. Right, this line here, I don't know what this is. I ain't seen this before. Well, I've seen it before, but I don't know what they call it. It's basically a line. If you look, it's just like that's like E G B. It's like E minor, but it's running to F. But it's actually this line is actually running from that B. And it's running down up that F to that A there. So again, it's voice leading, and this is kind of like elaborating the voice leading. So we're going from that B there to that A there to that G there, if you see. So just carry on. The voice line is going from that A to that G, and then from G we've got a line running up. So we've got an arpeggio which is taken to that E, and that E comes from that F, so the voice line went from F sharp. Remember, this is M1 taken to F sharp, to F, and then we're going to E. So just carry on now, and that's it basically. So we'll look at the voice leading now. If you look at Charlie Parker's voice line, it's really good. We've got up to that A, we're coming down G, F sharp, we've got M1 taking us back up, C to that B, and then that leads to that B there, and then this is running down, this line's running down to that D, right, which is then going to this C here through M5B, and then that's taking us down to this line here. This is basically a converging figure to A. Then we're going through a changing tone to G. M1's taking it up to F sharp. That's leading us to that F natural there, which is leading to E there. Then at the bottom, we're going from this G. It seems to be rising to that B there, and then that's going to A to G. And then these lines seem to all go down to A. This is arpeggiated down, but you don't really have to, because the main line is this F sharp F to E. That's finishing. It's just like Parker's setting up another line if the lines are going to continue, but he just finishes it off there. It's really good voice leading that. It's fantastic actually. So let's have a look now at the notes that I'm going to be looking at in this video. Okay, these are notes I'm going to be looking at in this video. Well, I'm not going to be looking at that one. I'll just talk about that in a second. I've missed one here. This C here. This C here on this E flat diminished, right, is a flat 9 on that B7. I also want to talk about that as well. So I'll just circle that after. I can't see this, but you will see a little circle appear on that. This here, I've already told you that this is basically an 11th, which is an avoid note on D, but because Parker's playing it on the 4th beat and elaborating it with M2, so he's playing that A as well, it's alright really, it's alright, you can play it okay, no problem. This note is a flat 9 on that B7, which we need to explain. This is a flat 9 on that A7, which we need to explain. Notice that they're off the beat, by the way. It's very important to note that they're off the beat. Here we've got this strange note, which is actually, we all know now it's part of a bebop scale, so I need to explain that note. And here this F natural, which I believe is an actual E sharp, which would be a sharp 5, so I need to explain that as well. So we'll come back to this, right, but now I'm going to go into the theory, which is going to be a bit complicated, take a bit of time. So if I were you, I'd go and get yourself a cup of tea and just have a little rest, because this next bit you might find a little bit hard to understand, but it isn't really hard to understand. It's quite simple. Just got to take it in bit by bit, okay?